Good afternoon again to all our listeners, all our viewers, all our attendees of another episode on our series of Lunch and Learn. And today we will be discussing how to get all your documents ready to apply for child maintenance. Welcome to all once again. We are streaming to a couple of places. We are streaming to 2 Facebook groups. We are streaming live to our YouTube channel as well as our website, where you can find the upload as well on www.lunchandlearn.org.za. Once again, welcome. Today we are, like I said, we are talking about how to get all your documents ready to apply for child maintenance. So this is not an easy process or a process that can happen overnight. There's some homework that needs to be done, and you have to compile all the documents to submit to court for filing for a maintenance application. So what are we going to discuss today? Today we will be discussing what documents are needed to submit your application to the maintenance court. Obviously that would be the maintenance court in the area where you work or where you live or where the child stays. And then we will also be addressing what happens if you do not have all the documents ready as requested. We'll give you some practical examples and some tips on how to complete those documents or to get the documents if you do not have those ready and at hand. We will also be discussing on where you could get the J101 application form. That is the justice approved form that you need to get in order to fill in and to submit to maintenance court to make an application for maintenance at the maintenance court. We will also be discussing what is meant by, what they ask for, proof of income and expenses. What is meant by that? And we will be addressing which jurisdictions, which courts can you approach to lodge your application for maintenance. And then, of course, what would also happen if you do not have all the details ready for example, the work address or the home address of the respondent, or in this case, the father. On this point, we would just like to mention briefly again that maintenance is gender neutral. What that basically means is that it could be either the mother or the father that applies for maintenance. But in this context, we will be referring to the applicant or the claimant. We would be referring to as the mother, and then the father as the respondent or the maintenance payer. That is just for ease of reference. That is not to be discriminatory because maintenance is considered to be gender neutral. We will also be discussing, how can you trace the other parent if you do not know where he lives or where he works, and what remedies are there available? What assistance would the courts give you? We will also address the question, what if you're not 100% sure that the person that you are claiming maintenance from is the real father of the child? And then also, what would happen if the children has different fathers? How do you approach that? How do you tackle that when it comes to maintenance application? The structure of these Lunch and Learn webinars, like we mentioned briefly in our previous one as well, is that we supply you with a link. There you can log on to our website, and on that link you will have access to this webinar. So if you're streaming this and you're watching this webinar over the internet and you're watching it over Facebook, you might not have access to all the documents that is available for the registrants, all the people that registered. Registration is free on www.lunchandlearn.org.za. If you register there, you get a separate link where you can log on to the website, where you will find some pre-reading material. Now, this pre-reading material is just background information that would assist you in understanding the context of what will be discussed. Obviously, there will be the live webinar, which will be available there. And then most importantly, there will be a tab at the top where it says resources and templates. Now, under that resources and templates, you will find all the discussions, all the topics, all the templates, all the examples, all the court documents, all the cases referred to during this webinar will be placed in that tab there under resources and templates. So if you have not registered, you would not have access to that information, and we suggest that for future webinars that you register in order to get the link for that. Right, so let's start off with a simple question. What documents do you need in order to apply for maintenance? I think the first question that needs to be addressed is, what can be claimed as maintenance? What is considered to be maintenance in order to establish the basis from which we can work from to say, right, you know what, this is what we can claim in terms of maintenance, and these are all the supporting documents that you need to submit at court. So in short, you may claim necessary reasonable support that is necessary for you to provide the child or any person has a right to maintenance, to supply them with a right to maintenance with a proper living and upbringing. That's just basically as an introduction. Now, this includes providing necessities such as food, clothing, housing, as well as paying for proper education. Now, this is found partly in terms of the Constitution, in terms of Section 28, but it is also envisaged that the Children's Act come to our aid as to what is considered maintenance. Like we said previously, there's no fast definition of what is maintenance, what is considered to be maintenance. So we have to look at all these acts to establish what is maintenance exactly, and ensure that, like I said, it would include providing necessities such as food, clothing, housing, as well as paying for proper education. Now, obviously, this might differ from person to person because, you know what, some people might not go to varsity, so then tertiary education would not come into play. So all of these needs to be taken into account. A person living in Bishop's Court might have a different budget as to food, as to clothing, as opposed to Bishop Lavis, for example. So yes, each case will be dealt with individually. Very important to notice that the court may also grant an order for the payment of medical expenses, all these over-the-counter medicine, as well as make an order that the child be placed on the medical aid, for example, of the father, if the child is still a dependent child. And in order to ensure that the court can grant and to make a fair assessment of what is needed for child maintenance, the court looks, and the maintenance officer looks at the income and the expenses of both parties. Therefore, both parties, the mother and the father, must provide the court with proof of their expenses. So what documents are needed in order to submit your application to the court? Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. Over the years, we've seen different courts have different requirements as which documents they need, what they want at court. So we have compiled a list, a very comprehensive list, to include all the documents that we've seen over the past couple of years dealing with maintenance matters, what the courts would require and what they would need in order to submit your application. First of all, you need proof of identity. So the identity would be the identity book, that little green book that you have with your photo in. It could be a passport. It could also be your driver's license or even your ID card. And if you're a non-citizen of South Africa, also your immigration permit. So that is just in order to establish the identity of the person. That is you, the one that brings the application to court. What is also needed is copies or certified copies of the children's birth certificates. Now that you can get from the Department of Home Affairs, and we suggest that you apply now already, if you do not have those at hand, to apply for those at Home Affairs to get those documents, because that is definitely needed at court. Most courts would also require that you provide at least 3 months banking statements. Now that is just for if, say for example, they want to issue a garnishing order and money needs to be paid directly to you. That's just in order to establish that you do have a bank account which is in good standing with a bank, and it is actually a usable account. It's not a bogus account of somebody else. So it's your account. So they would ask for 3 months banking statements. That is also to prove that you have not received any income or income derived from maintenance payments from the father during that time. Obviously, they will also look for at least 3 months proof of income. So that would be a salary slip if you're actually employed, or if you're not employed and you do piecework, or you might be a domestic worker in a house. Then ask the person that you're employed by just for a letter confirming what is your monthly or your daily or your weekly wage with regards to that. So the court would need to see what is your source of income. Obviously, what is also needed is the proof of your address where you stay. That could be a utility bill like MTN, or if you are prepaid, if you have a rates and taxes account, all those documents are needed, or that is needed, just to have a proof of address, which the courts might request you to lodge. If you do not, if say for instance you live in an informal settlement, my suggestion would be that you just file an affidavit at the police station stating this is your address, you've been staying there for so many years, and you could be found at that address. That is just in basic what is needed. Furthermore, on the next slide, the full name of the parent or the father that is responsible for paying maintenance is also needed. That's very important. I am involved, or I have privy to information from a tracing company, and it is astounding to see how many people do not know what is the correct full names of the father. And then they expect the tracing agency or either the maintenance investigator to search for a SIPO. A SIPO could be, if you put in SIPO in the programs that they use, you would probably find about 5 million people in South Africa called SIPO. So at least have the full names of the parent that is responsible for paying maintenance available. So as well, the physical home address and the physical work address of the father. Now, this is also very important because documents needs to be served. The sheriff needs to go, or the police needs to go out to the father or the respondent to serve certain documents on him. So it's vitally important that you have the correct address in order to avoid any delays in the matter. Because if you do not have the correct address, there is remedies for that, and we'll be discussing that later. But that might cause a considerable delay in your maintenance application form if you do not have the correct home and work address. And I suggest that you find that address, that you make all the efforts that you physically can to get that address. Check on Facebook, ask for family, ask for friends, get the address of the father and even where he works. That's vitally important. If you are divorced, then a copy of the divorce decree is also needed. You have to file that, so get that ready as well, because the court would need that. And lastly, then, a list of your income and expenditure. And that is also important because that forms the basis of this whole financial inquiry that we are working towards, which will be happening in the maintenance officer's office. So they would need to scrutinize the income and expenditure of both parents. So have all your documents ready pertaining to all those documents. So what is meant by proof of expenses and income? So if we look at income, that is things that it sounds like cash, that has value. Those are the income portion. It could be also called assets. That is what you have, which makes you, in plain simple terms, which makes you rich. So that could include things like, and you have to also just remember that if you state in your application form that you have a certain income or you have a certain asset, that should be proven. You should file and have supplementary documents ready supporting that allegation that you have indeed an asset, that you have fixed property. So with the expenses as well. But we'll get to that now. So what is meant by proof of your expenses and your income? If we look at the income, it could be fixed property. That would be the house that you live in. Obviously, if you rent your house, that would not be considered an asset, but it would be considered to be a liability or an expense because you pay rent. But if you have a home and you're paying a bond, there's a value on that house. So that is also important to include that. Also, income might consist of investments. If you have received some investment that you invested somewhere at a financial institution like Sanlam or Old Mutual or the bank or wherever, you have to have proof of that as well. So ask your broker, ask the bank for a copy thereof to sucker out what is the value thereof at this stage when you apply for maintenance. Same goes for motor vehicles. If you are very fortunate to have a motor vehicle, have a copy of the registration form ready to prove that it is in your name. If you have finance on the vehicle, also have a letter from the bank stating this is the amount that is still owed, and this is the value of the vehicle. Your salary slip is also vitally important. If you are employed, that you submit at least 3 months worth of salary slips. That's indicating your net salary and your gross salary. and any other income that you might have. It could be rental. It could be, you've got a big house and you rent out 3 or 4 rooms. You rent out a shed at the back of the house. All those are considered to be income, and that needs to be divulged and needs to be told to the court that you have this source of income. So if you do have rental income, please make copies of the rental agreements. You can submit that to court as well as proof that you have that income available as well. On the expenses side, if one looks at the expenses side, lodging, that could be a bond repayment, rent or board. That is where you live. So if you do incur expenses of paying somewhere to live, like a bond, for example, that you pay to a financial institution like a bank that gave you a bond for the house, please have copies of that ready. Ask for those copies at the bank right from the start, so that you do not have any other or unnecessary delays in your maintenance matter, because the court will definitely ask for those. Even so, if you rent, have a copy of your rental agreement ready. Then next we come to a certain one that most people find very difficult. That's groceries, food, personal care, all those items of a personal nature. To have an estimate or to have the exact amount of proof. That could be slips, that could be your bank statement. If you only use your credit card to pay for that you have your banking statement proving that this is the amount that you spend on expenses. Same goes for transport. If you have transport, if you need to pay for transport, a lift club, transportation for the children, to take them to daycare or whatever the case might be, have copies of that also ready. Let the person that gives you the service of transport, let them give you a letter stating, this is what you pay per month for transport. Schooling is also important. So get a letter from the school stating this is the school fees for this child. If you have more than one child, different schools, then get letters from all the schools, so reflecting the amount that needs to be paid for maintenance or for schooling for that specific child. Same goes for medical aid. If the child is on a medical aid, then obviously that might be included in your payslip. But if the child is not on medical aid and you do take the child to a medical center or clinic, then get a letter as proof that you've been there and this is the amount that you paid towards medical bills, like over-the-counter medicine or medicine that you received from the clinic. Any expenses incurred in terms of medical also needs to be submitted to court. Same goes for insurance. If you do have insurance policies or insurance on your vehicle, have those ready, because the court will definitely scrutinize those documents. Same goes for security. If you have ADT at your house, have a copy of your ADT contract ready, or at least show proof on your banking statements that a certain amount is being allocated towards that, will be deducted from your account towards security. If you have any other accounts like loan accounts, like furniture accounts, all those accounts need to be submitted to court in order to establish what is the total expenses of the mother when it comes to filing for maintenance. So yes, in general, what documents are needed to submit for the application for maintenance? Yes, certainly, most definitely, some courts do expect you to have slips of all your income and all your expenditure. Let's focus on the expenditure first. But it is impractical. It is not practical to rock up at the court with a whole box. I've seen it happen, a whole box of slips, and then it is expected from the maintenance officer to work through that box of expenses with all the slips. That is definitely not how it's been done. And Advocate Reuters, right at the end in the discussion portion, will address that matter as well. So those are all the documents that needs to be submitted to court. So on the next slide, I'm going to share my screen, which is actually much better if I can just get there. Sometimes we are expected to submit proof of our groceries, our food bill to the court to establish how much do we spend on food, because one of the prerequisites for claiming maintenance, or one of the things for maintenance, is to provide adequate housing We address that in terms of the lodging portion thereof, but also food. And I found in practice that so many times this creates a big problem. People do not know how to claim and what to claim for food and how to split that, but we get there. So my suggestion would be, instead of using all the slips and getting a whole box of slips ready, there's an easier way. And the easier way would probably be, and I advise most of my clients to do that, and it works brilliant for them, is to simply go onto the Pick n Pay website. Now, the Pick n Pay website, like you see, it is the URL is pnp.co.za. Now, this is the Pick n Pay website where you can actually do online shopping. So the intention now is to just to briefly show you how easy it is to create a shopping list of what you need per month, that you can actually print out and give to the court to say, but this is the amount that I need in terms of groceries for the children and for myself or for the household. So if you venture over to the website pnp.co.za, you will find a page that looks like this, and all the things, all the deals and everything would be listed in there. But I would quickly run you through the whole process. You will see very simply that you can shop by aisle, and then they have certain headings, baby food, or anything regarding baby, fruit and veg, milk, dairy and eggs, all these things that might be included in your shopping list. But I don't want you to, and it's not necessary for you to register a formal account with Pick n Pay. All that we want to do is, we do not want to do the shopping right now. We only want to have access to their shopping list that we will be compiling now. So what I would suggest here, I mean, you can click on any of these that is needed, but it would take you back to the login screen or to the sign up screen. Let me just show you how it happens. If you say add to trolley, then it would come up as soon as my PC actually gets there. It's not been added. Okay, but let me show you. Okay, right. So first of all, you go to sign up. You click on the sign up tab right at the top and the right hand side. You click there, and another page opens where it says, where it asks you, are you an individual or a business? I usually just click that you are an individual. Then it asks for your first name and your last name. So these are all just information that we're going to fill in. It's not necessary to give you a right name. Let's just put in mother and then last name. So that is just an account that we are going to create. We click on next, and then they want a email address. Once again, it's not necessary for our purposes right now. It's not necessary for you to give your correct address. So you can just add a bogus Gmail address like so, and you just click next. Remember, this is just a bogus email, so it's not a real email. You will not receive any emails with that. Same goes for a password. You don't even have to remember the password. I just type in a load of characters, and you click the terms and conditions, and you say, okay, right, must at least one number, right, and then create account. And then your Pick n Pay account will be created in the background, and you will be transferred back to the screen where you can start your shopping. It asks you, do you have a smart shopper number or card that you want to link? You just say, okay, right, we just skip that step because you don't want to include your smart shopper. You use that for your own purposes. You don't use that for right now. So once you click there, then you come back to this whole screen like this. And that's where the fun starts, because this is where you can actually work out and create a shopping list for a month. So let's just run through it and just create a short list. Let's go shop by aisle, and let's say, okay, right, let's go to baby. Baby is very small, and we need certain things for the baby. I just said, okay, right, let's go to baby, not fruit and veg. Let's just go to the baby products. And here you will find all the baby products. Now, remember now, this is groceries that is estimated for a whole month. So you can decide and say, okay, right, you need the baby wipes, and you need probably, there's 224 wipes, so you would need one for probably 2 months. So you just add that to your trolley. There is Purity, that you can say, and you would need at least 3 or 4 of those. You say add to trolley. You'll see on the right hand, it will all be added to your trolley, as well as in the little cart at the top. And if you scroll down, probably not now. Yes, if you scroll down, you would see the total amount accumulating. So let's just continue. Say, for instance, you need to have Huggies. You want 2 Huggies. There you just add the total amount that you need in terms of that specific product. And you say add to trolley. And you would need, and there's some more tabs at the bottom that you can go to. Let's just see what's on the next page, because we are busy shopping like crazy. Still purity. What is this? Baby powder. Yes. Okay, right. Let's add 1 baby powder. Or only 1 baby powder, not 2. So we add those to the shopping cart as well. And let's just see what else there is. So you can go through the whole list. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but you would see more categories when you click on that one there. You would see baby food formula. That's important. Nappies, baby bottles and teats, baby wipes, feeding accessories, baby essentials, lotions, baby bags, and stuff like that. Let's just add some formula so that we know that is also done. At least baby would have some food. Remember, this would also differ from child to child. So your older children would have mini pizzas instead of purity and stuff like that. So this would be your shopping list for a month. Formula, okay, right. I can't find that now. It should probably be one of these. But you get the idea of how to create a shopping list. There it is. So we say we add 1 to the trolley, and you'll see it'll show up in your trolley there and increase the trolley value or the cart value at the top. Now we can go to the next aisle, fruit and veg. Same thing. You can add there all the fruit and vegetables that you would need for the month, all the milk and dairy, bakery. If there's bread, you could order, and you say, right, you want 2, or you're going to use 4 breads, then add those 4 breads on there as well. It could also be, okay, right, let's skip all the wine and the beer. Let's skip all of those. Let's go to household and cleaning, because remember now that the children will also be responsible. They also use some of the cleaning materials, such as the domestos. Yeah, okay, right, let's add a domestos to the shopping cart. Sunlight liquid. Someone actually needs to wash the dishes, and the child needs to be. You have to buy that in order to do that. So add 1 of those as well. Garbage bags. We always forget about garbage bags. So yeah, add 2 packs of garbage bags. There's 20 in a pack. So yeah, we can use that for next month as well. So now all of this gets added. If I just scroll down, and you will see, okay, right, now same goes for meat. If you want to include meat as well, there is a section called meat, poultry, and seafood. You add meat there as well. And this is now, remember, we want to create a shopping list for 1 month to show what is needed by the household, you and all the children living with you per month. Let's just add some chicken. Let's add 4 packs of chicken. And that is all included in the trolley there. Right, now we basically finished with that. Now we want to print that, or at least have an indication of what is the amount that needs to be paid. Now you can see right at the bottom, you can see the total amount is about 1,000 Rand. That is needed for the expenses. Now this could easily be saved. If I can just recall correctly how you do that. If you go to trolley, because that is the shopping cart. If that opens, you can simply say select all. You can see all those that have been selected, and you save to your shopping list. And there you can create a shopping list. Let's call it a new maintenance list. And you can just simply click create, and you can say, okay, right, let's view your list. And there is nicely set out what is household and cleaning. There is under household and cleaning is the domestic, sunlight liquid, the refuse bags pertaining to the baby. There's those amounts. It's baby powder, the milk, the purity, and poultry and seafood. And the total amount is 882 Rand. And then you would have the opportunity to print this. This is the list that you can use to submit to court, to show to the court, this is the amount that I need. So it's not necessary for you to gather all your slips and to have everything ready to submit to court. And that was actually easy. That was fun as well. So go through that exercise and do that, because that is important to establish the amount that you use for groceries per month. Moving on next. Okay, right. So where do you get the J101 form? Very simply, the J101 form is a Department of Justice form. It's a prescribed form called the J101. You'll see the number right at the top portion of the form. You will see that it's marked J101. That form is available at the closest magistrate court. So where you work or where you live, during the lunch hour, pop in and get that form from the court. It is available there. You could also, in the meanwhile, you can download it from the DOJ website. There is the URL where you can actually download that. It is also found under the resource folder that you receive the link. Under the resource folder and the resource and document tab, you'll find all the details there. You could also visit the website. The website is called www.childmaintenance.org.za. There you will find a complete library with some affidavits and some documents that could be used and be helpful to your application form. You can also join support groups, such as our Facebook group that we have. We've got about more than 50,000 members, and it's called Child Maintenance South Africa. If you join that group, you will also see under the document section, you would see that there is all these forms are available on the Facebook group. Right. So where do you need to go to lodge your application form? You've gathered all this information. It might have taken you a day or two or maybe a week. So where do you go to in order to submit and to lodge your application for maintenance? Now, Section 6.2 of the Amendments Act, the Maintenance Amendments Act, has been changed in 2015, because initially it was only where you live or where the children live, those courts that would have jurisdiction. So Section 6.2 was amended to also include where you work. So there would be different courts having different jurisdictions where, for your convenience sake, in order to apply for maintenance, you could approach the court where you live, where you work, or where you spend most of your time during the day while working, or where the children live. So what happens if you do not have all the details? Say, for instance, you do not have the work or the home address of the other parent. Like I said, documents need to be served on the other parent. So it's vitally important that you at least have his ID number and his correct names in order to give to the maintenance investigator. Now, a maintenance investigator is a person that is employed by the Department of Justice, and they work together with a maintenance officer. And one of the tasks in terms of Section 7.2 of the Maintenance Act is the maintenance investigator shall take instructions from the maintenance officer to actually locate the whereabouts of people that is required to appear before court or before an inquiry. So yes, the maintenance investigator does have access to a database that could be used for tracing. But we need to briefly mention, okay, what can be traced? The maintenance investigator can trace the bank accounts, for example, that the debtor might have or the respondent might have, the father. He can issue a summons or a subpoena to the banks to say, give us the information of all the bank accounts held by the respondent. So that is well within the means of the maintenance investigator, what they can do. They can also do a deed search to see if the respondent or the father has any property in his name, as well as they are linked to the e-Natus system. Now, the e-Natus system is basically a system where all the motor vehicles are being registered. So the maintenance investigator, upon request of the maintenance officer, can do that type of searches. The maintenance investigator could also draw a credit profile to establish what accounts does the respondent or the father have in order to approach those. Say, for instance, he has a furniture account that the maintenance investigator can actually approach the company to ask them, you know what, give us a copy of the credit agreement that your client or their client signed to establish what address he put on that. Like I said, not all courts have maintenance investigators. They are hugely understaffed at this stage because simply the DOJ does not have any funds available for that. So what in practice usually happens is that one maintenance investigator is shared by a couple of courts. And these poor people are overworked and underpaid. So they have a huge workload. So chances are that if you want them to do the tracing, it might take weeks. I have had cases where it took up to 8 months just for the maintenance investigator to do a full and proper assessment and investigation, just to get the bank details, for example, of the father. So best would be if, in order for you to expedite your maintenance matter, is to get all these details ready beforehand, before you approach court. But if you really do not have all those information, then you are well within your rights to request the maintenance officer to instruct the maintenance investigator to do a complete search on that. Like I said, beforehand, there's some homework for you guys to do before you actually go out and fill in the J101 application form, is that, get all the information that you really can. Search on social media, search on Facebook, search on Instagram or LinkedIn, all the detail that you could use that would be beneficial for your application for maintenance. It might be that the dad posted a new girlfriend together with his new car. You know what? Then he's got a car, or he's got a new car. If there's a registration on that, even better. Or he just started a new job, and he checked in at where he works, or something like that. So all that information is available to you to go and search. Do some homework, get all those documents, get all those proof ready, because you will surely need that. Another source of helpful source of tracing the other parent could be friends and family. Phone around, speak to the friends and family of the father and say, but you know what, I need to get hold of so and so. Can you give me his address? Where's he working now? Most often you get right, and you get all the information that you need from friends and family. And as a last resort, you could always use a private tracing agency. There are a couple of tracing agencies available, specializing in tracing your baby daddy in order to pay maintenance. And they would give you the information that is needed and to fast track, obviously, your application at court. So the next question would be, what if you are not 100% sure if the person that you are claiming from is the real father? One should always remember that the court must first determine whether a person is liable to pay maintenance, that he should pay maintenance. So if there is no responsibility upon a person to pay maintenance, then the whole matter cannot proceed. And maintenance claims are based on the common law duty of the biological parent's obligation to support the child. So it's vitally important that paternity must first be established. So a court must determine whether a person actually is liable to pay maintenance before they can proceed. In most instances, they accept the mother's word for it, but it is definitely not uncommon for the father to come to court at a later stage to deny paternity, to say, but you know what, or the mother is not even sure that he's the father. And then he comes to the court and say, but you know what, he really is not the father, or he disputes paternity. But we'll deal with this at a later stage in complete detail, because this is also an important aspect. And some of the fathers use this technique or this tactic in order to delay the maintenance process. I can just briefly mention that the court will have the authority to order that a paternity test be done, and then the parties will then come back to the court. Once again, that's what might cause a delay in your matter. But the parties will then come back to the court after they've received the results. And then once the results show that he is the father, the investigation will continue further. And obviously, if it's proven by that time that he is not the father, then the application is simply dropped. So what happens if you have children from different fathers? It happens quite often that you have two children from different fathers. The question would be, do you fill in one application form, or do you fill in separate applications forms? Say, for instance, you have one father and you have two children with that father, then that could be included in one application form. If it's one father and you have two kids together, then that could be filled in on one application form. But if you have different fathers with different obviously different children with different fathers, then the applications needs to be different. It needs to be split because it's all about the father. So, and it's linked to the father's name. So if you have different children with different fathers, then a separate application needs to be done for each and every father pertaining to that specific child. It might also happen that they're different provinces. That also quite often happens. Then you need to lodge your application with a court where you live, work, or stay. But what would in effect mean is that they have to come from a different province if he is in another province in order to attend court. On the next one is practical tips for mothers and fathers. We actually compiled a short video run of mothers that said, you know what, this is the experience on the maintenance court. And this is the tips that they can offer to other mothers. Let's just briefly have a look at this.
Good morning. In the 1980s, I went to the maintenance court as a mother. In the 2000s plus, I went to the maintenance court as a grandmother. I wish I knew then what I knew now. I would say to mommies, equip yourself well, research all the documents that you need, do your founding affidavits telling your story, and keep a maintenance journal, I would say, recording all what your experiences are, both in the maintenance office and in the maintenance court, so that you can always fall back on that information. Save all your receipts, which is very important, and do a proper calculation of income expenditure. Take all your necessary documents that the court need and let them stamp it and start your own file. So in case they lose the file, your file, you have a backup system and let them stamp it. And good luck to all the mummies that is going through difficult times, I know. And in the end, everything will come right. That is what you must hang on to.
Hi Luncheoner, my name is Sandra. My top tips for maintenance are: you do not need a lawyer, you can do it yourself. It does mean extra work and that you have to brush up on the law and all of the case law, but you can do it. Number 2, apply for an interim maintenance order. If you have any kind of written agreement about maintenance, about an amount, go and ask to make that an interim order immediately. The first time that you apply, you need to run an affidavit for that and ask for that interim maintenance order. And number 3, keep all of your expenses separate. So if you can, if you're at the shops and you're buying things, keep your food separate from your cleaning stuff, separate to everything else, and your children's expenses on separate receipts. It makes categorizing them at the end of the month so much easier.
Good morning, my name is Audrey, and things I wish I knew before going to maintenance court. Both parents' income, means and expenses are taken into consideration when calculating child maintenance amounts.
Good morning, my name is Renelle, and things I knew or wish I knew before approaching a maintenance court was that there's an excellent hub, let's call it a maintenance hub and source of information, which you can find at www.childmaintenance.org.za. On this specific website, you'll find how-to guides, things like how do you calculate a child's portion versus an adult's portion for maintenance, affidavits, case law, relevant forms that you'd need at the maintenance court. This is really incredible and invaluable. On this website, you'll also find past NPA community dialogues. That will be also it's like a YouTube link. Once again, invaluable. You can't even put a price on this, on all this information that you'll find on this website. Also on the website, you'll find a link to a WhatsApp support group, and that's exactly what it is. It's a group where fellow mommies as well as some legal eagles support one another. Excellent source of information once again.
Hi everyone, my name is Bulelwa Dasi. I wish I had known before that you don't need a lawyer when applying for your maintenance case, because most mothers think that or are told that you need a legal representative in order for your case to be taken seriously and all that false information. But currently I'm representing myself and getting all the advice that and support that I need from the WhatsApp group. And thank you so much, guys. I'm currently representing myself and it's no train smash. I'm taking every step as it comes, every day as it comes. Thank you to the WhatsApp group for the support.
What I've learned since last appearing in the maintenance court is that proper prior planning is absolutely vital. The person that is the most prepared in court is most likely going to be the person that succeeds in the matter. Make sure you are prepared and that you know the Maintenance Act, the Children's Act, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Know what the rules of court are, and remember that the magistrate or the judge is just a person, just like you and I. Stick to the facts, remain unemotional, and you will be fine.
Yes, very much thanks to all the mommies that gave us all these advice. It's always good to hear from them, first-hand experience, how they experience the maintenance court. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that participated. If you want to send us a voice note or a video clip explaining your story or just to give some advice, you're most welcome to do that. Please do so and send it through to www.lunchandlearn.org.za. And yes, just to round up a little bit before we get to the discussion portion, I see that we are running a little bit over time. Just to show you where are you in the process right now, where we're moving towards. Now, some of the ladies mentioned, you know what, you have to get all your paperwork ready. That is quite explanatory. This is what this webinar is all about. In the next one, we will explain how to complete the J101 application form step by step so that you know exactly how to fill that in. Next webinar would be how to calculate the child's expenses, which is quite detailed, how to work out what is the proportion for the child, how much is it for the person that lives with a child, and then on the next webinar, it would be how to calculate the parents' contribution and so forth and so going on. So we'll have at least 52 of these webinars, which is presented free of charge, and that is with the sole aim to educate and to enlighten the people and the public out there with regards to maintenance matters. Just in order just to make something clear, where are we in the process? Yes, first of all, we're still busy on the complaint area. That is where you need to compile all the documents in order to submit that to court, and only afterwards, after you've submitted that to court, there would be the process involving the maintenance officer with the informal Section 6 inquiry, as well as then if they do not have any restitute or resolution there, that it might be transferred in terms of Section 10 to the court, where the maintenance magistrate will hear the matter and then make a ruling on that. Just once again, just for the attendees, those people that have attended, under the resource section, there is an ebook written by myself and a colleague of mine dealing with all the maintenance issues that might be presented. It might include, when do you need to stop paying maintenance? What if you're unemployed and you still am I still liable for maintenance? All those questions are covered in this ebook. It makes for some quite interesting reading. My suggestion would be to download this free ebook. You can distribute it to anyone that might be interested. And but yeah, it is a great resource for you just to have some background information on what to expect. It's also dealt with what to expect with a day at court. What would happen that day once you appear in court. So download that. That is available for free for all the people that have registered. So please do register in order to get that free ebook for future webinars as well. So now we turn to the discussion portion, and we will be discussing how to get all your documents ready to apply for maintenance. Right, so joining us for the discussion today is Advocate Dion Reiters. He's the Senior Maintenance Prosecutor from the National Prosecuting Authority. Jumping right into it, today we talked about how to get all the documents ready to apply for maintenance, which seemed like a daunting task because there is so many paperwork and there's everything that you need to get ready. What practical tips are you there to offer us and our attendees on how to get all the documents ready?
The most important tip that I want to give to our listeners and viewers will be that, number one, they need to make sure that they at least have a copy of their ID, copy of the children's birth certificates, bank statements where they would like the money to be paid in, because we do not keep money at the courts anymore and they have to collect it at the court. We believe in the EFT system where they will have access to that money over weekends or public holidays. So make sure you've got all your documents in order, your ID document, birth certificate, bank statements, and as much detail as possible of the respondent, of the father, because some maintenance officers and maintenance clerks can call him immediately while the applicant is busy completing a form.
Okay, and just to explain to me section 7 with regards to, what if the father is not the whereabouts of the father is unknown, what would be the procedure to ask the court's assistance, and what could the courts do in that circumstances?
Well, in terms of Section 7, as you just mentioned, the maintenance investigator can trace and track the respondent, meaning that if the applicant have the identity number of the respondent, or at least have his last car registration, then the maintenance investigator will be able to track or investigate and get a ITC financial report in which it will indicate where he worked, where his last credit transaction was, and all of that, in order for us then to be, or for the maintenance court to be able to trace him. The other way is like in a case where they've got his last car registration, then an e-notice report can be tracked, where we will be able to find out where he last registered his cars. But there are other means like Home Affairs where he last voted that we'll be able to find him. So mothers do not have to worry about the fact that they don't have his last whereabouts. In terms of Section 7, the maintenance investigator can investigate and trace and track the respondent.
Okay. We've also seen that many courts, they do have the facilities of a maintenance investigator offering assistance, but there are sometimes that they are just turned away because the maintenance investigators are simply too overburdened with work. Is there any other way that they could utilize and to assist?
Well, there are other means like getting a tracing agency to assist them, and there are a few available out there that they can just on Google do a Google search and find some of these tracing agencies that will be able to then do a tracing. And on Facebook, there are some of these tracing agencies that are being mentioned in some of the Facebook groups pertaining to maintenance. So, except for the Section 7 investigation, they can try and get a tracing agency to assist them to get hold of the respondent.
Another thing that I quickly want you to discuss is that in the event that the mother has children with different fathers, we've seen it quite often, especially on the Facebook groups, that what they've got more than one baby daddy. And the question, and it was dealt with a while ago, but I would just want your opinion. How should they, because they want to obviously get the money from all the fathers, but is it one application? Is it more than one application? Is it different applications, or can they combine it into one application?
In most cases, the courts will make a different application for every child. If it's a different father, then it will be a different application. If it's two children with the same father, then that two children can be covered in the same maintenance file. But the maintenance courts will open a file for every father, because it's just going to cause too much confusion to have a one file for one mother with all the different fathers. For each father, there will be a different file. But in the case where the children are children from the same father, then both children or more children can be covered in the same file.
Thank you for that. And that brings us to the end of our discussion portion today. That was valuable information by Advocate Reiters, the Senior Maintenance Prosecutor at the NPA in the Western Cape. This brings us to the end of our Lunch and Learn webinar. We unfortunately do not have a lot of time for questions. If you do have any questions, please drop us a mail at info@lunchandlearn.org.za. And if you need to get hold of us, some clarification, please drop us an email on info@lunchandlearn.org.za. This is Eugene Opperman. I'm a family law attorney practicing in specifically family law, dealing with maintenance matters, as well as domestic violence matters, parenting plans, and children's court matters. I've been doing so for the past 22 years, and it's quite an honor to present to you all these webinars that is planned for the rest of the year. If there's anything else, then you are most welcome to email us, and many thanks to Advocate Reiters for joining me today as well. We see you next week, same time, same place, again for another installment where we will be discussing how to complete the J101 form. We will take you through step by step on how to complete the J101 application form.